We live in a culture that wants instant meaning, instant revelation, instant certainty, instant transformation, swipe, click, refresh, and receive. But some of the deepest truths in the world's religious traditions describe something else entirely. Ripening. This is one of the core constructs of the Theopoetecological framework. It names the temporal maturation of theological understanding, the slow process through which meaning was present but inaccessible gradually becomes receivable as your symbolic ecosystem develops. Welcome to episode 5 of Theopoetecology. My name is Dennis Matthews Jr., and I am a PhD student at Liberty University. Today we're talking about ripening, one of the core constructs of the Theopoetecological framework. Let's start right here. A mango takes 90 to 150 days to ripen from flower to fruit. You cannot rush that process. The nutrients are there in the soil, the sun is in the sky, and the water is present, but the process has a time on its own, and no amount of wanting a mango faster can change that. Similar to this, one of my favorite passages of scripture, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22. He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtains favor in the Lord. Initially, on face value, the scripture seemed to me as something that simply said, if you find a wife, you got favor in the Lord. But what didn't really stand out initially was the good thing part. Over time throughout my marriage, I didn't necessarily understand what the good thing meant until we grew together. This is our 13th year of marriage at the time of this recording. And over time, I've seen and I've comprehended deeply what it means to have a good thing and to find favor in the Lord. Bitter and not sweet. The honeymoon phase, as it's often referred to, ended with me not fully understanding what good was, let alone me attempting to grasp what it meant in relation to my wife. However, over time, I began to see what God meant in Genesis 1 after he spoke our ecological world into existence. After making the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the birds, fish, and animals, God kept saying that it was good. I've come to understand that he was likely referring to the interconnected process of being itself in relation to what he had created and what he was going to create next. How well it functioned in its purpose. That comprehension helped me see my wife in a different way. How well she functions as my partner in these meaningless days, as the author of Ecclesiastes puts it. As I grew into becoming more of the man that God designed me to be, and my wife, the woman God formed her to be, my developed understanding of a good thing ripened to a matured realization that she quite literally was meant for me. And our companionship in relation to the inhabited world around us has strengthened even more over time as we experience God in uniquely beautiful ways that he has planned for us to encounter. And that is ripening. The scripture didn't change. My symbolic ecosystem changed. Through the new losses, new failures, new relationships, new encounters with the living world, it altered what was available for me to receive. Theopoetecology names this process and it insists that it's not a failure of earlier reading or comprehension. It's just a feature of how theological meaning itself works. This is the most important distinction in this episode. Ripening is not delay. Delay is passive, nothing is happening, an obstacle is preventing progress. Ripening is active. The symbolic ecosystem is working beneath the surface. Formation is occurring. The roots are growing deeper. It's just not visible yet. Many spiritual formation traditions have known this for centuries. The desert fathers and mothers, stay in your cell and it will teach you everything. Ignatian discernment, train practitioners to know the slow movements of consolation and desolation over time, never rushing to conclusions. Lectio divina, return the same short text repeatedly across seasons of life. Different meanings can surface at age 20, 40, and 60. If meaning matures through symbolic ecosystems over time, then the aesthetic environment of worship, the ecological practices of community, and the quality of contemplative spaces are not extras. There are more conditions under which ripening becomes possible. You cannot outsource the slow work. You cannot replace with more content. Ripening is a process that happens over time through the development of ecological understanding through a maturation process that time itself grows. Ripening is not delay. It is the ecology of deep formation, the not yet of mature theological understanding which is not absent. It is growth happening beneath the surface. In the next episode, we trace the intellectual genealogy, where Theopoetecology comes from, and the 150-year braided history that makes this possible. I'll see you there.